Well, hello and welcome to another DevNation. We are here today to talk about Tekton, the technology that helps you build your components, your applications on top of Kubernetes. So as you know, we've actually had a trend over the last several months or the last several years of running the show. We love a lot of Kubernetes topics. We love a lot of Java topics. And today is going to be a Kubernetes topic where we can dive deep into a certain area. Today we have Kamesh Sampath with us. He is our expert looking at Tekton, and he's got a great demonstration that you're going to want to see. So definitely want to check out what he shows us live today in today's session. Of course, this will be recorded and be available to you. And as always, hit me up on the chat tab for throwing in questions and answers, and we'll try to answer them in real time. We may not have time for Q&A with Kamesh, but we'll definitely try to answer them right here. And if, as always, remind your friends and neighbors, the best way to hear and see is to refresh the browser. All right, let's get started. So Kamesh, let's turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Burr. Hello, everyone. It's good evening, good night, good morning, anywhere you are. I'm live from Bangalore, talking about Tekton today. So I just have a lot of things to show to you guys. So I'll just make a very quick slide intro, and then I have put the slides on the chat so that you can take the slides offline and read them as well, plus the demo sources. And without no further delay, I just get into the introduction about this particular topic on Tekton. I'm going to go there and share my screen up for you guys so that you can start looking at my screen. I'm going to share my entire screen up so that you can watch my screen. I hope. Yeah, I'm right there. So the bit.ly link here, this can take you to the slides here, so where I can go there and pull the slides down. It's available offline. I keep updating the slides. And then obviously there are a few other things for you to read offline. So I just thought to give you a very quick introduction about what cloud native CI/CD is, right? So we have heard about cloud native application development and Burr, and we have been giving a lot of talks around that. We've been reading a lot of articles in the web about what cloud native application development is. So cloud native continuous delivery is quite close to what cloud native application development is, but it's just a step before how do you actually deploy your cloud native application in CI/CD way. Right. The three main components that for cloud native, obviously, you know that we need everything is based on Linux containers. So everything we are going to do, even with cloud native CI/CD, is also going to be used containers and built for container apps and runs in Kubernetes. That's an important term that we need to understand here. And we also kept in mind that serverless is catching up the hot topic around, and then we make sure that the cloud native CI/CD should also be using serverless in a way that whenever I don't run any CI/CD, I don't want any resources to be used, saving you a lot of cost and money. Since it's going to be cloud native, the cloud native CI/CD should also keep in mind about what's DevOps. So we're going to say, okay, DevOps, designed with microservice and distributed teams in mind. So all these three different factors make up what a cloud native CI/CD should be like. On this line, I'm going to introduce what's Tekton. Tekton is the latest upstream project which Red Hat, IBM, CloudBees, and all our guys are doing, and is governed by Cloud Native Delivery Foundation. It's a new project. It's Kubernetes native way of doing CI/CD. One of the things, obviously, since you have been with Kubernetes for quite a long time, I've observed that there is no way that you can do a build or image build within Kubernetes cluster. You have to use some other way to push the image into your container registry and pull them from there. Obviously, OpenShift, the enterprise Kubernetes, was giving you the S2I features where you can build and deploy applications. But with Tekton, we're making sure that even if it comes for the even vanilla Kubernetes, a lot of our Red Hat guys are doing upstream work, getting this to perfection with all our experience around S2I and how we do build image building with OpenShift as well. So the four main concepts I want to introduce to the probably my last slide for this thing. Maybe you can have the slides later, but I want to get into a demo soon. But I want to shout a few Tekton concepts so that, like, when I start demoing, you can understand what they actually mean. Anything within Tekton is kind of divided into these four blocks you see on my screen. The first one being its type. What I mean by type is that I can define my resources. One of the important things with CI/CD is that the two things which we take from where, which is basically the sources, the GitHub repository or your any other VCS repository, and to what is what we make out of these, right? What we do with CI/CD, taking an application to production or making the application, pushing into container registry. So that's what we mean by type, which is reusable resources. And we also have, we break down each of these tasks, which is a smallest unit of work. We make them with step. Each task has multiple steps. You'll see the multiple steps. How do you build image? It can mount volumes, use environment variables, etc., so that your container builds are much easier and much smoother to do. And also like pipelines, you can also run the task individually, but also you can group tasks together. We'll see both examples during the demo. So you can also group this with pipelines. With pipelines, you make sure that the application tasks are grouped together and run a specified order in which you want to run. So obviously, end of the day, we want to be cloud native. So everything is run as a containers inside your Kubernetes clusters. So we need to have a way by which we need to run your pipeline or your task individually. That's what the task run and pipeline are used for. So with this short introduction, I would straight away jump into doing a quick demo on how do we do this. So let me shift to my screen. I hope everyone is seeing my CLI. I'm just going to do a quick demo on this. So let's go to my editor. So I'm just going to build up a few demos. I have an OpenShift cluster basically. So this is a cluster which I have online in the cloud. So we're going to use this cluster to deploy my application. I've already pasted my source code, which is from this simple Hello World application based on Java application, which says Hello World. So let's not worry about this Java or anything. I'm just going to do a Java build. So I'm just going to have this. Yeah.
Kamesh, we lost your screen share. So let's try to screen share one more time. It disappeared.
Okay. So is it?
So start from the moment it's screen shared, right, with the editor.
Okay, I think it's dropped. I don't know why it's dropped. I think I'm just going to share my entire screen up. I hope you got me back.
Yeah, well, we see ourselves.
Okay, so I think the presentation was good, right? I just need to start from here, I guess. So the demos, I think I said like I start from the cluster which I have basically. So I'm going to have my OpenShift platform deployed with enterprise Kubernetes, where I'm going to do all my deployments right now. It is deployed there, available on cloud. And I shared this repository, which is a simple Hello World application, Java-based application, which I'm going to build. And this particular stuff, the link of this repository is already shared on the chat, so that you can just go look at what the application looks like. And I have also made sure that I documented all the steps which I'm going to do right now on my demo, so that you don't miss anything. In case even if you miss, you can come back and check these things and start running as well. And there are, without further delay, I'm just going to go to my editor and start doing this. The first time, as I said, like pipeline resources is something which we need to create. So I'm trying to rely on VS Code snippets. And the snippets link is also part of the slides. You can just add the snippets to your stuff. I'm just going to create a first thing. I call this as Git resource, a resource named pipeline resource. It's of type Git. This is what I mean by type. So it takes two parameters. I just need to give a name, which is basically the URL of your repository. The value is, I'm just going to say https github.com, the repository which I showed you right now. My repository is pipeline hello world, right? And that's the repository I have. And then I need to give one more parameter for this, which says, what's the revision I need to use? Obviously, I'm going to use a master revision. This helps you to change the revision whenever you do CI/CD. I'm just going to say master. Let me make this a little bit bigger so that's easy to see the screen well. And again, I need to create one more pipeline resource. This is what I'm talking to you about. To what? I got the sources. I'm going to build to what something is called, and just let me call this as hello world image. IMAGE, and then this is going to be of type image, which is nothing but a Linux container image. And it also has a similar parameter called as URL. But let's see what this URL means here. It has a different meaning for this case. So in this case, the URL is going to be the URL of the container registry URL, right? Which you usually use. Since I said like I'm going to use OpenShift, I already have an internal content registry URL. I'm just going to copy and paste this with a long name, so that I'm just going to push this image into my local registry, so that it's quicker, faster for the demo sake. And I'm going to call this image as hello world within my namespace called as tutorial. So with this first one, like we are ready with the resources. The next one, what you have to do is like we have to build the task. The task is basically the smallest unit of work, which I said earlier. The task is going to have multiple steps. In our case, I'm going to have a task which is going to have 3 steps. Basically, the first one is going to build your Java application. The second one is going to be build the container image out of the Java application which we built. And the third step is going to be like push this image into the container registry, which is typically your internal container registry that I have here. So as usual, I'm going to go with my snippets, which I already have, and then create a task. I call this task as build app, and then build sources, and then I'm going to use a builder image. This could be any image you wish to use to build your application. In my case, I'm just going to use a Quarkus Java builder because this is a Quarkus-based Java application. I already have a builder here, which I'm going to use. I don't have any commands, but I do have arguments, which I need to pass to this. I need to tell it like where to go and run the script. This is going to be maven run.sh, which I already have in my Quarkus image. I'm just going to use this. It also takes few parameters. I'm just going to use, the first one is going to be called maven, maven cmd args. This is going to be the maven goals that I need to run. So I'm just going to say -d skip test. So I don't want to run any test. Clean install. So these are the goals I'm just going to give for that. And obviously, any given enterprise Java thing, like you want to do a bit of caching of your Maven artifacts so that they build up much faster. So I'm just going to give a Maven mirror URL. In this case, I'm going to use a new notation that is specific for Tektons, where you can pass parameters. I'm just going to say inputs.params, P-A-R-A-M-S, dot Maven mirror URL. I'll come back to how we define parameters in a few seconds. And then the last parameter is that I need to give a working dir. Obviously, we already specified the working dir, but my builder image is a bit old, even before Tekton. So I need to tell this where to go and take the application run from. This is what I need to give it. I'm just going to use the same URL as you saw here. We have some input parameters as well. So since it's going to be a Java build, sometimes you need to have more memory, less memory, etc. So which means that I'm going to have another snippet which defines my resources. I'm going to say the resources, say, okay, I have a maximum limit of 6 GB for this particular container to run with 4 CPUs. And I'm going to give a request for a minimum of 2 CPU and 4 gigabytes of RAM. Right? This is something which I need to do. The next step is that I go back and say, define a security context because my builder image run as a root user, and OpenShift does not allow you to run as root user. So I need to give privileged LGD. So I need to run that privilege. And that's pretty much we have for this particular first step, which we right now have. So I need to go back and say and add another step, which is basically, I told you earlier that I need to start, I'm going to start building the image again. So I just say go build, I just say I have another task step, which I define here. I call this as build image. And then I'm going to use Builda. Builda is a kind of Dockerless way of doing container image building. I have a link to Builda as well as part of the slides. You can just check it out, Builda, later. And then it does not have anything else. But what I'm going to say to this is run Builda, build my Docker file. That's what BUD stands for. And then I'm going to use pass argument to layerize each build. And then I'm going to say don't do TLS verify. That's what it means. Because I'm going to push it to internal registry and I'm using a self-signed certificate. So I want to ignore TLS verification. And then I need to tag this image, which is technically what I call this right now. I'm going to use another parameter here, inputs.params.image name. Let me call this image name here. Once I have this, then I need to give it a Docker file to build. Obviously, since most of the time we use Docker file for easy container image building, I'm just going to call the same name as Docker file. I have the Docker file, I have this thing, and then I need to give it the context, obviously. I'm just going to give the context. And let me grab, I'm going to give the similar resource to this as well, just to make sure that it's faster and quicker. And the last but not the least, I also need to give a volume mount here, volume mounts. And then I say name, and then I give, call it as varlibc. And then I give a mount path. This is the path where Builda will be pushing its built image, which is nothing but a tarball end of the day, varlib containers. And then this is what I need to have. So this is pretty much I have for this step. And we just left with one more step, which we need to create, which is the last step of pushing the image back to the registry. That's what I'm going to do right now. I have build image step, and then I need to call this step as push image step. And then pretty much the same commands, I need to say push. And then I also need to give it what needs to be pushed, right? So I just need to have, I just clear all of this off, and then say, okay, I need to have the TLS verify as well. Otherwise, my push will fail. I say TLS verify. And then I say Docker, since we built from Docker thing, it's the Docker format of Open Container Initiative. So I'm just going to skip those details further. Just imagine that we need to push it like this. And I have all of the parameters are pretty much same. Two more last things which we need to do. The first one is that I need to define the volumes. I'm just going to say volumes, VOLUMES, and then the name I'm going to give this particular one. Since I don't have any storage attached right now with me, I'm just going to say empty.dar, and that's what it's going to take. And we are done with all the steps. The 3 steps are done. But one last thing which we need to do with the task is that I need to set these params up with the default values. That's what I'm going to do right now. I already have a snippet that does this. I have a source, and then it's type git, which is going to be the thing which is going to be used here inside. And then there's an output which is going to be built image. And then the first parameter which we need to do is a context DAR. The DAR from where your build is going to run. So by default, I'm going to say this. And then I need to say the Maven mirror URL. I think I remember that we added this. So we need to give the mirror URL as well. And let me point to my local Nexus repository here, which is here, which is running within my same cluster. I'm just going to give this here. And the next one I need to say is the Docker file, which I need to use. Let me go and pull this out from here, the image name. We're going to find another convention here for the image name. We know this image is going to be built from this one, that's output. So let's use that same URL which I need to have, which is your fully qualified image URL. I'm just going to say outputs dot resources. Just if you see outputs dot resources, and then I say the built image dot URL. So that's where it's going to take the image from. And the last one is I need to set that Docker file here. So I say the Docker file. Okay, the last parameter which we need to pass. I'm just going to take it from the sources src/main/docker dockerfile.jvm. If you're wondering what this is, if you go to my sources, I have a Docker file within here, src main docker dockerfile jvm. That's what I'm going to use. You can map it to any path within your sources as well. So with this, we are done with creating a task. And then next task we need to do is like make this task run, right? First we'll try to run it with just a task alone, and then finally we'll try to see if the time permits. We'll try to create a pipeline and try to deploy using a pipeline with multiple tasks together. Okay. The first thing I need to do right now is go write a task run. A task run is used to run an individual task, and then I say call this as task run, and then I have the snippet which gets me to do this, and then I say build app is going to be the task run name, and then I'll put a dash. I'll come back to that in a second. My task reference is nothing but this particular task which I just now wrote. I need to give a reference. And now you see that I need to pass some parameters here because I defined some parameters, default values. I'm not happy with those default values. So I'm just going to pass some extra values to this. So I'm just going to say task input. If you see, this is exactly, if you see this one and this one, these are pretty much same what you see here as well, right? So just be careful when you're writing it for first time. Just make sure that these task inputs are on same line. And then I need to give something called as a resource ref, and then name. So you'll be wondering, what is this? This is how I'm connecting my pipeline resource to my actual thing which is going to be passed. In this way, this is one thing Tekton is super exciting because I can plug and play with my resources. I don't need to have static resources attached to your build tasks, so that I can change from production to QA to different registry, different GitHub repo, etc., etc. I can have any kind of those combinations. So that's what we call as decouple and loosely couple and tight. That's what we mean in Tekton. All right. So and then let me, in the same way, I also need to tell my image. And just go with the resource ref so that it uses this particular image here, which I'm going to push it back. I'm just going to do the same thing here as well. And then that's two things. And I need to say one thing right here. What happens is that now my build task is not reusable, right? So I'm just going to give a context DAR. That's the first parameter I'm going to say. And then I'll just use value. There's no default here. So I just need to take the value here and then going to say app. You'll be wondering what this context DAR is. If you go to my sources, my Java sources reside within a directory called as app. So that's where your POM XML write, which Maven reads and builds. That is within the app. This is a directory, what I call as context directory here. So I give a context directory, but if you see, I've hard-coded the Maven mirror URL here, which makes this build task not reusable across. Because in case if you don't have Nexus, then this will not work. So to make this thing change, what I'm going to do is like I'm just going to make this as a parameter. I'm just going to say another parameter called as name, and I'll pass it from here. Okay, and then I use this value here. I call this value, and then this one, the default value, I'm going to make this to look like dot call is repo1 dot maven dot org, which is always there, and then maven 2. In this way, what happens? Your task now becomes reusable. You can give this task to your friends or anybody else within your organization who want to reuse the same build task with different set of sources or anything, because everything you see in the task current is pluggable, right? And then we have a bunch of tasks in the catalog here. I shared these links as well in the deck. I'm just showing it for a second. We have a lot of tasks here, which are the reusable tasks as well, right? We can plug and play with them. I will be using one of the reusable tasks in our next demo within a few seconds. One more last thing which I need to do here is that I have the app, I have this, right? What happens is now my task run can run many times, right? So we'll be running once and then probably it might be failing, and we'll be running multiple more times as well. So to avoid this, which if you give a static name like what I've given there, what happens is that I will not be able to create it again. And I'll not be going to revisit back and say what's problem happened, anything I need to fix. So I'll not have a history or logs. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to use one feature called as generate name, GNERATE. And then what right now happens is that when I give this Kubernetes, when it creates this particular resource, it will suffix this build app, and then it will also attach a 5-digit alphanumeric characters with this, which gives you a unique ID for this particular thing, so that you will have multiple task runs given there. All right. So right now we are good with the task run. So what we'll quickly jump to create these ones. Let me go and say, so I use something called as TKN. The link is there. TKN CLI is a CLI command line binary, which is used to kind of interact with your Tekton binaries. I mean, Tekton CLI is a way to interact with Tekton. So I'll be using multiple commands here. I have the link to download this binary so that you can use this binary as well with your demos as well. So let me do this. So right now I say Tekton task ls, which is say what are task I have. Sorry about the typo. I don't have any tasks, so I'm just going to see OC create. So let me see. I'll just use the command here. I'm just going to create build resources, OpenShift client task. I'll come back to that in a second. An app build task, which we have right now. And then we also have an app build task run, which is going to create right now, right? Just have 3 things. I'll just make sure that I'm good with all the stuff here. So we have the mount parts, we have resources, we have volumes, map, everything is done. We also have the Tekton task run here, and then I have resource reference name here, and passing the parameters which I need to have. Right. All right. So this is good here, and then let's go there and then fire this commands. And then you see this is what I was talking to you about. Each task run will have a unique name, right? So just to see the logs, how do you refer whether this task has done? Let's say TKN, TR is task run, and then I say LS. Now it has failed. Let's see what happens to this. We'll see describe TR slash. Now it says that, okay, I have privilege, I'm using privilege containers, but I don't have privilege permissions given here, right? So which means that in Kubernetes way, let me go back to this error. It says that you don't have something failed here. The problem is that in Kubernetes, everything runs with a service account. What I have done is that I have a service account already created for pipeline, which has necessary permissions. If you go to my example repository, it defines what permissions you need to be given in there, right? So I'm going to go there and then say, okay, use the service account, the CRVICE account here, and then PIPELINE, that's a service pipeline account here. And then now when I go and create this task again, that's what I'm going to do right now, OC create -f, and then doing is, right now you'll get a new ID, if you see this, and then in this way, like you have multiple tasks, and then when I say TKN TRLS, TKN TRLS, I'll be having one task and another task is started to run. Let's see how to see the logs. This is the next step I'm going to do. TKN task run, TR is a task run shortcut, TR logs, follow, and all the containers, because you'll be seeing there'll be multiple containers which gets created here. Right now, it's going to show you all the logs. It started to do the build right now. While it does the build, we'll also go and create a pipeline, right? So one of the things right now with pipeline is that just creating this build, pushing the image to container registry is not going to help me in any way. So I need to have a way by which I push this image and create a deployment, right? I'm going to do a pipeline here I think I'm running short of time. So probably what I'll do is like, I'm just going to copy the pipeline from here, SRC, okay, I have it here, and then I say I have a pipeline deploy. I just copy paste this one here because I need to respect the time. And then I have the pipeline here, so which is going to say run this command for me now, and then create a deployment as well, right? So in this case, if you see, I'm using another task, two tasks here in the pipeline. One is called as deploy app, and then I'm going to use OpenShift client, the OC client, which you saw in my command right now. I'm just going to use that right one there, and then I have few other parameters. This is a pipeline CRD, which I defined. I have few resources here, which is set, and then finally it deploys. If you see this, this is going to create a deployment for me, right? Right now, rolling out a deployment. I'm just doing it a very crude way, but usually we'll have the deployment YAMLs. We just trigger the deployment YAMLs firing and all this stuff. So that's how we do this. And it also, what you also see, this particular deploy app runs only after I build the application. So this is one of the things which you can do with pipeline. I can define my order in which my task needs to be executed. You can imagine a pipeline like multiple task runs together. So that's how I'm going to do right now. Let's go and create this pipeline and also like run one more time as well. So let's see what happened to my thing. You see here, so I have my task run TK and TR LS. If you see this, we should have one failed one, which we saw earlier, and we should have one which one succeeded right now. Right, my task run is succeeded. Right now, I'm going to go back and then say OC create my pipeline, create -f app deploy. Right, and then when I say TKN pipeline, PIPELS, and then when I say this should give me the pipeline which I just created, which should be called as app deploy. Right now, I'm not going to use to run a pipeline. There is another way we can start. That's what I'm going to use. I'm just going to copy this command for the sake of time. I'm just going to copy this, and then I say, okay, if you see here, I'm just going to create this pipeline command. I'm just using TK and CLI to start a pipeline. And then I'm passing some parameters. If you put TK and resource ls, we have two resources which you already created. One is called as a Git resource, and another one is called as hello world image, right? If you go to a pipeline, I have two resources, app resource and app image, which I need to map, which gets mapped here. And then the moment I start to do this, what happens is this application gets created and it gets mapped. So I'm just going to use the same thing. And the moment I start this, I should have a new pipeline created. Let's wait for some time. And then TKN PRLS, which is pipeline run ls, it says running. And I follow pretty much the same way to see the logs. CLS, TKN PR logs -f -a. The TKN help will give you all these options. Just follow and all containers, because if I say cube OC get pods -w, if you see this pods, this deployment has 7 containers in it. So I need to get the logs from all the 7 containers. That's what I'm giving the option -a, which means that get the logs, follow the logs from all the 7 containers. So we see the pods getting initialized right now. We'll give some time for this to run. While it runs, I will also probably can take few questions if you have few.
Yeah, we're down to just a couple minutes left. One question that came up early, though, Kamesh, was what YAML plugins are you using for your VS Studio code? People like
so so this is a Red Hat YAML plugin, so which is contributed by Red Hat YAML plugin. If you go to VS Code Marketplace and then type Red Hat YAML plugin, you'll see the plugin which is there. And then the snippets, I already have the snippet shared as part of the slides. The slide resources will have the snippet links. Once you get the snippet links, you can add it to your VS Code plugin, so that like it can give you what all the the command completions or the which I actually done with my YAML creations.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if you have that link to your snippets, go ahead and add that to the chat if you don't mind.
Okay, and I'm just going to do that. Yeah, I'm just going to do that right away there, and then I'm just going to put that here, and then there we go. And let's see what's the status of my task run. I think we have done with the build. Let me quickly share my screen with the 1 minute I left.
Okay.
To show the deployment happens. I think I hope you got the screen back. And then if you go here and you see this deployment has been created, and then the task has been completed, you see this on my screen, which says the deploy app OC in this way. And then let's TKN PRLS and then see the task has been deployed and has been succeeded. So in this way, like pipeline, is used to combine multiple tasks together so that you can have stitch multiple tasks. The tasks not necessarily need to be from your own application. It can also, as I said earlier, it can also come from these tasks which you need to pre-install. As we did in our case, when you observe the first command, I installed the OpenShift task. Let me do this tkn task ls one last time. You see this OpenShift client task which I installed when I did this create-f earlier, if you remember. Okay, I don't have this in my history right now. So we need to create the task. Once you have the task to your Tekton library, then you can use this task like how I did here. In my example, I just use the OpenShift task, and each task will define some parameters. I just need to pass the parameters, and there we go. So if in this case again, so I'll also try to see, but I think I'm running out of time, I guess. I think I can also expose a particular stuff, OC expose, hello world deployment. I have the deployment exposed, and then OC expose SVC hello world so that I get the route. And the moment I do this, if you go to your OpenShift console and networking and routes, I have exposed this application, and there you go. This is your application, which is a simple hello world application which we built. So we did everything within the cluster, no pulling images. We are using the internal registry here, using Tekton pipelines and tasks and pipeline resources to do all the tasks for you. And that's pretty much I have for today, Bert. I think over to you.
Okay, we are out of time, but two quick questions. One is, someone would love to know exactly how you configure your theme in your shell for iTerm 2.
Okay. All right. Okay. This one is using something. I'm just going to tmx config. I have my tmx config here, so I'm just using a tmx console and just putting that back on the chat. So I just use tmx configuration from here. That's my tmx config, and then I use an item 2. I just update. I think this item got a new look and feel a couple of days. I mean, last week, if I'm not wrong. So I just use this and then map these item shortcut keys to my thing. For example, if I need to create a new tab, I just use new tab here. I still create a tmx console, but the keys are registered with your item, right? It's using there's a way we can register the key maps as well.
All right, well, very cool. We are out of time. Thank you so much for that, Kamesh. It was awesome to see all that live demonstration. I know people got a lot out of it, got a lot out of the session as well. Do be ready for the recording. We'll send the information out soon. You can check that out on YouTube or on this platform also. And then thank you guys for your time today. Thank you, Kamesh.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time. And sorry to take 2 minutes extra for you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.